Well, ladies and gentlemen, Juan Calvete and I now have the very pleasant duty of presenting a citation to our friend and colleague David Williams for a Lifetime Achievement Award by these Oxford Venoms meetings. I'm going to start with a very insubstantial and touchy-feely introduction, and then I'm going to hand over to Juan for a multimedia, possibly vulgar, extension of this citation, covering more aspects of covering more of the reasons, the justification for David to be receiving this very high award. So briefly, ladies and gentlemen, for David Williams, the world of toxinology, the world of snakebite, there's no doubt at all it started with venomous snakes, and it started in Quirindi, in which many people have never heard of, actually, in New South Wales, as a small boy. Age 3 is quite young to catch your first venomous snake. I mean, precocity is often a prelude to genius in many fields of life. But anyway, he used to bring home these boring sounding Australian snakes that are really quite interesting to his horrified parents. And he's reported of saying that he caught snakes and kept them as pets, always fascinated. So I think there's no doubt at all that that's where the whole enthusiasm began. But of course, one may have different ideas. He's a much more deep thinking and profound person than I, so he's probably analyzed this more carefully. He was encouraged by the famous Eric Worrell, no relative, by the way, even with the different spelling, and spent some time at the Australian Reptile Park in Gosford. Our first meeting was absolutely by chance at the International Society of Toxinology World Congress in Tel Aviv, organized by the late Elazar Kokfa. And we discussed Papua New Guinea on that occasion, which turned out to be, there are only two things I can claim responsibility for in David's life. One is Papua New Guinea and the other is Kenya. But anyway, this was Papua New Guinea. And what had happened was I'd been working in Papua New Guinea since about 1986. Bottom left is me, the first ever milking of Micropechis ikaheika. And some of the characters I worked with, David Theakston, many of you may recognize, and David Lelou, who's now risen into the ionosphere. He's now Vice Chancellor of Liverpool School of Tropical Medicine. And that's the original Port Moresby hospital where we saw our snakebite patients. So I was able to fill David's impressionable young mind. I don't know how young you were there, but with these exciting ideas about Papua New Guinea and the opportunity to really see snakebite in its true context. And we heard yesterday afternoon from David how important he believes that this is. Then he invited me to Cairns on my way back from Papua New Guinea. And in fact, I was met by Diana, who sent me and dumped me in the middle of the rainforest in Kuranda. This was Australian hospitality. But in fact, it was a very exciting experience for me. I saw lots of these extraordinary Australian marsupials. And I won't bore you with the names, but you can read some of them if you like. It's sad to see, actually, that many of these species no longer exist in Eastern Australia. And if you look at pictures of Kuranda now, it's unrecognizable. It's so developed. The spread of Homo sapiens is such a disaster, I think. Anyway, snakes. David had a collection of snakes in his house in Cairns, and amongst remarkable examples were this enormous female Australian taipan and this very long mulga snake, king brown snake. And David demonstrated to me what I'd heard about but had never actually seen firsthand. That was the free handling of venomous snakes. In other words, not using a stick. You go to the cage, you slide your hands in, you lift out the snake. And I knew about this because there was this very famous Charles Tanner, whom my guru Alistair Reed had met and had observed free handling snakes. But David convinced me at that meeting how good he was, because to free handle snakes, you've really got to be very perceptive about the slightest sign, the slightest twitching and indication that the snake is not absolutely happy. He not only was able to free handle venomous snakes, but also he free handled the world's most dangerous stinging fish. You see, his hand is well away from the stinging spines along the dorsal crest. So anyway, I don't know whether it was my influence or not, perhaps not, but David decided after a couple of preliminary visits that Papua New Guinea was where he wanted to spend his time. And he devoted 20 years of a really dedicated effort to the problem of controlling snakebite in Papua New Guinea. Just a few elements of his comprehensive program of snakebite control and prevention during these 20 years, things like community engagement, health worker training, and so on. He created a new system for distributing antivenom, because as you'll know, it's no good having good antivenoms if they don't reach the areas where they're needed geographically. And when there was a threat that the government would no longer be able to afford the excellent CSL antivenom for Australia, he developed with colleagues at the Instituto Clodomiro Picado in Costa Rica a new Taipan antivenom, which he preclinically and clinically tested. I think it's very difficult from historical controls, but it seems to me very likely that David's efforts were largely responsible for this enormous reduction in case fatality of snakebite victims being admitted to Port Moresby General Hospital, from about 17% for adults, 25% for children in about 2003 to as low as 2% by the time David left Papua New Guinea in 2019. He organized a snakebite ambulance rescue service. You saw a bit of that yesterday, certainly along the main Hiritano Highway and in both directions from Port Moresby. And he did a magnificent job with the redoubtable Simon Jensen on the right there in training perhaps as many as 2,000 health workers during this time. Well, of course, for absolute authenticity, you have, if you're interested in snakebite, you have to be bitten yourself. Whereas I organized my 2 bites in remote areas of the tropics, David made sure that the full Australian ABC film team was there to record every detail of his suffering. But I don't think it was a self-induced bite, although I wonder, because he's a very good snake handler. Fortunately, David survived, and I think it was mainly a hypersensitivity reaction to the venom rather than direct effect of envenoming. But it was a very nasty moment. We were all very worried about him. He also spent some time in Cambodia, so he knows about Southeast Asian snakes as well, and produced this excellent report with Simon Jensen and Mark O'Shea for the World Health Organization. So while David was in Papua New Guinea, doing all these marvelous things for snakebite in Papua New Guinea, it didn't stop him doing some other things, like founding the Global Snakebite Initiative, which was an organization that was largely focused, initially at least, on achieving recognition for snakebite at the World Health Organization as a neglected tropical disease. As you know, this was achieved in 2017, and in 2018, a World Health Assembly resolution was adopted, giving support to the idea that snakebite was important and giving it a top priority. And then David was responsible for developing the WHO's roadmap entitled Snakebite Envenoming: A Strategy for Prevention and Control. Anyway, my second credit for David's amazing career is to introduce him to Kenya in about 2010, I think it was. I'd had my old friends, Sander and James Ash, who I first met when they were working in Oxford in the 1970s, escaped to Kenya and developed a snake farm there in Watamu. And they started the tradition of snakebite symposia. And in 2010, I invited David, managed to get David over. And it was an extremely important moment because David really took on the whole question of not only African snakebite, but building up an incredible resource on the coast of Kenya in Watamu. Originally, but it was called Bioken after when James Ash founded it, but later with the late Royan Taylor developed into the Taylor Ash Foundation. And David has put all his organizing ability into developing this place. I'm sure we'll hear more about this from Juan, who spent a lot of time in this facility. So David's toxinological career, I suppose, culminated in a way in his recognition and award of the Reddy Award in 2024. Well, David is at his best in the field, and I'm so glad and so grateful that he's still willing to take me along. Quite a liability at my age, but as you can see in the wilds of Kenya here, we're having a good time. I seem to be the only one not drinking beer, but I don't know what. So anyway, David Williams, a most unusual personality, a most unusual range of talents deployed to the interests of snakebite patients. And I now leave it to Juan Calvete to say something really serious and profound about David Williams. Over to you. Yeah. Why wasn't I given access to these pictures?
So what can I say after Sir David's citation to Brother David? Thank you very much. So this is a picture of David's PhD celebration, and what I think when I was trying to put together this talk is what triggers, what is the reactions that triggers a life to go in one direction or another. So it was difficult after, because many things, conventional things, are we know and are not and are really available on the internet, but others you need to go and deep on it. We have heard that David's fascination with reptiles begins very early, and here is a picture that demonstrates this. Are not venomous snakes, but at age of 7, I guess, he also was surrounded by these nasty animals. Here is another one, and on the it's a common theme over the years, seeing him with a snake on his hands and handling snakes. Actually, if you read in this Australian herpetology online kind of online journal, all his planning for the next year is already declared here. He said, my research activity are not just intended to enable me to write a great thesis and publish interesting papers, which we heard yesterday from him also. And he said, apart from my apart from my work in Papua New Guinea, my interest in snake bites and in improving the outcomes of victims are global, and I'm hoping to eventually take lessons learned in Papua New Guinea and the solutions we develop to a wider audience throughout the tropical world. So experiencia fácil. So why this interest? I think this may be genetically encoded, because why a guy in the 25 enter in a small cage and stay there for hours and days with taipans, and what was the other one? 3 taipans and brown snakes for days in periods of 12 hours, just only going out for walking and stretching the legs and eating something before the snakes try to think that they can eat them. And all the reason for this was to raise monies for the Royal Flying Doctor Service, which is a non-profit organization that connects over a third of Australians living in rural and remote areas to primary healthcare. So this was already there, and this probably is a precursor of the Global Snakebite Initiative and his global interest in helping people in need. And this is not only in his genes, but also now is imprinted on his skin. You see, here is also Experiencia does it, and this looks like his left arm. Am I right? Yeah. So he's a great photographer, and I have, even when you see him traveling and he goes with two suitcases, the biggest one is where all the cameras and the accessories are. The other is just the traveling luggage. And with capturing the same kind of details that he cuts in his photographies, he put also in providing reports with data from in this case is the risk assessment of antivenoms. So the reports for the manufacturer are as detailed as the photographies that he cut on the field. So it's also something that is general and well inside his capabilities. This is also part of the analysis to tell what is wrong and what is right. And he's very talented to catch the details and to catch where the shortcomings are, and also to provide solutions or to provide recommendation as to how to improve any situation. So in this case, is very, 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 very positive. But apart from his work on these programs and the development of the roadmap of WHO, there are other things that he also contributed while sitting in his office in Geneva and later in Dubai, which is the snakebite information and data platform that is really, really useful, and where most current scientifically based research, data are placed in iterative maps with data on the range and the type of venom and the anti-venom against it and so on. So it's very comprehensive here, and I recommend you to go through it. He's also very talented hand worker, and he can fix an air fryer or construct a pan from a top This is a top. We wanted to cook a paella in Watamu. We didn't have the big pan, paella pan. So this is the only that was available. And the solution was just to refurbish it to a pan. So let's go to the workshop. Say, Kyle, come here and design where to cut, where to put the ales, and step by step, you see at the end, there is a pan where eventually you can even cook something that if you are quite away from Valencia, you can call paella. If you reach to Valencia, you call rice with things. But this is what they was. So this is another lesson. You work what you have at hand. And I learned also this kind of behavior. I have a brother, my older brother is surgeon, and for the last, now he's retired, but for the last 15 years or so, every year he spent as voluntary a month in one hospital in Ethiopia or in another country with Medicals Without Borders. And when I asked, and if someone comes pregnant and wants to deliver and you don't have the medical things to help, what do you do? He said, whatever possible is. And this is the right way of thinking. But the same that he can refurbish or this pot into a pan, he can also refurbish the full Biochem snake farm that David Warner refers to. These are pictures of the old one, and when we were there drinking a beer, and he was also designing the plans for refurbishing the farm to make it more modern and more affordable of getting funds for the functioning of this farm. And so now these are pictures of that I took 1 month ago, and you see how it changed. And all this was just to follow the plannings that he designed for the new farm. And now we are also trying to establish a laboratory for venom quality control and to produce venom in a more modern way, so that they give them more opportunities of business and maintain the farm functioning. So probably this reflects a little bit his attitude. Life is like a camera. Focus on what's important, capture the good times, develop from negative, and if things don't work out, take another shot, and I would add and start again. So now here are some testimonials from people that wanted to send a slide, or I have some videos. This is from our IST president, Denise Camburgi, and you can read here. I let for 15 seconds so that
It's my great pleasure to congratulate my dear colleague David Williams for this Lifetime Achievement Award. With David, I have been involved in several projects and initiatives along the years. In 2008, we started with the Global Snakebite Initiative, which has had a very good role in the advocacy for snakebite envenoming and for the positioning of this disease in the agenda of the World Health Organization, and in general in the global agenda of public health. The role that David has played in these initiatives has been impressive. Also, we have collaborated in several research projects related to snake venoms from Papua New Guinea, and in a very interesting and relevant project aimed at the development of a new antivenom, monospecific antivenom for Venoms for Oxyuranus scutellatus taipan snake in Papua New Guinea. This antivenom was developed through a collaborative project, and it showed to be a very effective antivenom at the preclinical level. And then they tested it with his colleagues in Papua New Guinea in a clinical trial where the antivenom proved to be effective and safe. So along the years, I have been very pleased to collaborate with David to witness his commitment, his energy, and his dedication to the cause of snakebite envenoming and to the reduction of the burden of this tragic disease in the world.
We have here also.
Dear David, it's both an honor and a great pleasure to
From
congratulate you on such an important day. Today we celebrate more than you and your work. We celebrate your passion to saving and protecting lives of humans and animals. It has been a great pleasure to work with you side by side at the WHO Antivenom Risk Benefit Assessment Project. It is a project of such relevance because it protects the people who need it the most. You, my friend, are a true instrument of public health, and it is amazing to work with you. I learn a lot just by standing next to you, and really congratulations for this award. You deserve it.
This is a treasure slide. I don't know what is important here, the congratulations or the picture. Here from Wolfgang Büster.
The corridors of power at the WHO, changing the face of snakebite treatment worldwide. And now this, what a journey. It's been a real honor and a privilege to accompany you on a few steps of that long journey. With your bloody-mindedness, your determination, and your intolerance for bullshit, I never doubted success. Many congratulations. You deserve every accolade and every recognition going. I hope you have a great day. I wish I could have been there. Have a good one.
Congratulations, David, from all of us at the Snake Bite Time. We are so proud of you. We're so grateful to you for all your support over the years, decades, in fact. And latterly, the rebuild, the redesign of our Snake Bite Time. From all of us here, the whole team, your friendship, your expertise, we're forever grateful. And my late husband, Ryan, he'd be so proud of you right now. So thank you, David, and congratulations, and have a great day.
But not everything is positive. Here is a negative congratulation for taking the wrong way of solving the problem of snake bites in Gaza, in Palestine. There are other proposals for doing it. But this is just to show that, well, David is also able to knock at the door that that needs to be knocked, to speak with whoever can at least theoretically help to solve and to finance the project. If he cannot raise money from a guy like Gates, nobody will, for at least for this kind of projects. And for all he says, a man with a deep sense of humor. So I think for all these people, this reflects his thought on many things. Well, I promoted that in Spain we have also he honored by putting his initials in a car traffic plate, and you see this is real. So there are 1,000 cars running in Spain with the same DJW. So I did also something positive. No, I saw I saw this parking in front of our institute and immediately took a picture. This is how we celebrate in Spain. Let's come over here. Yay. Mm. The best is always at the end, but okay, then congratulations. Next time you are in Valencia, we will organize a mascleta, but a real one, not this small quarter. And the troll congratulates again and continues so.
Our dear friend David Williams is very much deserving of the Lifetime Achievement Award, and which I'd like to present to you now. And congratulations.
Thank you very much. Let's never hear. It's easy to transport, and there is some to put in a
Well, yes, I would say something. And to keep it fairly short and sweet, David Worrell is right. Up until 1994, I was just a snake handler. I worked in zoos. I had a passion for animals. And he sat me down in a coffee shop in Tel Aviv and said, you know that you're only 90 minutes away from Papua New Guinea. And if you really want to know anything about snakes and snake bite, that's where you need to be.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was fairly transformative. I didn't go into academia to be an academic. I went into academia because David said, you know that if you had a PhD, you'd get more credibility with the right people. So I can blame him for that one as well. my advice to anybody would be, don't take no for an answer. If people tell you something can't be done, just go and do it anyway. When we wanted to make an anti-venom in Papua New Guinea, we went to CSL first. They said, cost $15–20 million, impossible. Went to a couple of other manufacturers, they all said the same. And then we sat down and spoke to Chema. And Chema said, you give me a couple of grams of venom and we'll do it. I said, how much is it going to cost? And he said, nothing. And so there's always an alternative if you're willing to sort of, you know, not take the first refusal and go away and do something else different. So that would be my advice to anyone. Don't take no for an answer. Do what you enjoy doing, and don't trust Calvete or Worrell to keep any records.
No, no. No, no. The dangerous people are you with your camera.
Thanks very much, everybody.